Hi, everybody. 179. Let's make sure that everything is working. Since Richard was forcibly removed, there we go. Okay. All right. So this is, let me turn this down a little. Okay. Now I'm on. This is day 1,879 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room and his life was taken from him brutally after his chain of command abused their power, retaliated against him with UCMJ. Why did they do that? Why did they do that? Because he was a whistleblower and they were compromised. They were compromised up through the chain of command. And this is really bad for them now because they are really traitors now with the designation today. It's huge. Today is September 23rd, 2025. And, it's a very, very good day. So I'm going to explain a lot. Why would they use their UCMJ? Why would they try to frame Richard? Because he was absolutely President Trump's secure border whistleblower. Okay. He was on President Trump's side. This is a political hit because they were really first and foremost wanting to stop President Trump, to sabotage President Trump's presidency. They wanted to affect the election because they will do anything to keep that border open. The border being open allows them to criminal trafficking um, uh, with impunity because of their infiltration of our system, being in the FBI like Connell Witten, um, and in the El Paso um, clerk's office, in the El Paso County Clerk's office. You have Delia Briones. She's very important because of the seals and the stamps and death certificates and all of that stuff, business, LLC, business, um, um, certifying all of that. So she's very important. Of course, they have in the judicial seat of the chief medical examiner almost $500,000 a year of taxpayer salary goes to an illegal, unqualified, cartel tied. One of their members, Mario Raskin Ortiz, who absolutely we have confirmed is unqualified and is up to no good. Let's say that is up to no good. And then, of course, we have Raphael Caron, the owner of Plenitude Crematorium, that absolutely is connected to Purchase Funeral Homes and other funeral homes like Martin Funeral Homes and Fort Bliss mortuary operations to traffic corpses and cash in on corpses, cash in, and then one time wasn't enough. They had to recycle the corpses, and they had to carry out this huge crematorium fraud and leave hundreds, over 400 at one time, of rotting bodies that they were. Um, uh, it's just it gives you goose pimples, right? Because of the rats eating through and everything, and the stench is so bad that they could not hold back the truth any longer. It was the stench of the evil that was so bad that they couldn't hold back, and of course, this is where we suspect some of our son's remains to be ended up. and that's a really big deal. So they have these infiltrators in the DA's office. They, of course, Jaime Esparza in the AG's office. They have in the federal courthouse there. They have in the El Paso police um, IS department, and then the El Paso ISD, where we know they have a police department also. And even in the Fraternal Order of Police, this is what we're finding out um, about those that targeted our family, to threaten our family, to dox our family, to put our family in danger, to harass our family with very vile and vulgar harassment that lasted for months, and still ongoing. I would say for years. Um, we are just so tough, fight, fight, fight. Um, but it's been hell, for years, and to see that Michael Gonzales, the president of the Fraternal Order of Police, also an El Paso ISD police officer, also a candidate for the sheriff in El Paso, for the sheriff's position, and being with the sheriffs, having decades of uh, law enforcement experience, right? I mean, he said, like almost like a little resume of all of his accolades, right? And with all of that, he is outright lying, right? Outright lying about not knowing who Leilani Hart is, not lying about Amber Chase, about being in this little group with them, with Lindsay Rowland, not knowing who they are, and just like, oh yeah, that was an accident. When there's, we're not going to publish that without having other hard evidence to back it all up. And instead of doing his job, and also representing the Fraternal Order of Police like he should, as the president of the Fraternal Order of Police, with integrity, he just puts out a playbook. But we know that playbook too well. We know the playbook, of just giving your resume to divert attention from what your duties are, or trying to tickle our ears or whatever, or try to be deceptive and put, the sheep's clothing on something that you've done that is pretty wolfy, right? That it's pretty wolfy, that he's in this little small cozy group that conspire together to do us harm. A family that is a Gold Star family. This is in 2021, right? This is in 2021. And if you're new to this channel, you might not know that into this case, that we were told by the CID, by Richard's chain of command, that we had to investigate ourselves and bring them leads. Otherwise, they couldn't help us. So we started our investigation at the request, at the demand, at the necessary demand of the CID, and it was dirty as hell, and we knew it was dirty as hell. But what were we going to do? We knew that they were lying to us. We knew that they weren't giving us answers for our son. They gave us. They gave us an in, right? They gave us an in saying, bring us leads. And we're like, okay, we'll bring you leads. You're going to have to investigate yourself, or we can't help you. Okay, we'll investigate ourselves. So at the bequest, it was needful. It was, if we wanted answers for our son's case, my Oma would say, "Selbst ist der Mann." So if you speak German, you absolutely know what that means. It means that you have to do it yourself. You have to do it yourself. You have to investigate yourself. You have to bring them forth leads. And even that was obstructed um, and interfered with, tampered with. We know files were tampered with, and um, the case was obstructed on so many levels. And we know that through it all, the real target, and I'm not just saying this, I think everyone absolutely understands that the evidence over these years confirms that what we're saying is right, that the real target was always President Trump and his administration and his reelection campaign. That was the target of all of this because they will do anything to keep an open border. And I think evidence confirms that over the years. And Richard got in their way because Richard absolutely confirmed what President Trump was saying, that the worst of the worst crimes were coming through that border. The worst of the worst crimes were being developed because of the open border policies. And it was creating a national security threat. It was creating a real threat on our military bases. And of course, El Paso with White Sands Missile Range is the biggest by land military base that America has. And right above White Sands Missile Range, which is huge, right on that border, and it's protected flight. That whole airspace is protected, was Zorro Ranch, right? Zorro Ranch, Jeffrey Epstein's ranch, right? Where we know that things were happening that were up to no good. And so we know that by confirmed evidence and congressional hearings that hundreds of thousands of children were being trafficked. Um, and for very, very bad reasons. And we know that the Walmart mass shooting was orchestrated. We know that because the evidence has declared it. We know that Patsy, is not a lone shooter, that there's multiple shooters. We know that a false narrative was developed, a very false narrative of white supremacy, which is totally false because Patrick Crusius is autistic. He's one of those 1 in 12, right? He's one of those 1 in 12 autistic. Not only that, he has severe mental health conditions on top of it. He's blind without his glasses. He's totally blind. And he just absolutely could never have pulled this off. And the evidence shows that who killed Maria, who killed the Unchandos, who killed Alexandra, those were professional headshots. And well, I don't know about the Unchandos, um, uh, because yeah, but absolutely Alexander and Maria. And Alexander's a German national, okay, a German national. So the whole white supremacy thing is, just a bunch of bogus that was put together in order to, slap that onto President Trump, to hurt President Trump. To hurt the United States, to hurt our national security, to hurt the administration that was seeking a secure border, a secure and vetted border. And Richard was absolutely cheering that on. Not only cheering that on, he was a whistleblower, and his reports, and because he was not compromised, because he was a distinguished honor graduate for his cycle in basic training and in advanced individual training, because he was the fastest runner in his unit with absolutely beautiful, even perfect PT scores. And because well, one of them wasn't, they're going to come back at me because of the injured knee, but just absolute, the guidon bearer, absolutely. You'd ask him to do anything. This is his first sergeant, you'd ask him to do anything, and he would do it with right away without complaining and doing it well. Um, yeah, so um, he just has all these accolades now from President Trump, which absolutely confirms that he was never compromised. The lies that are told by Bob Moore, disgraced Bob Moore of El Paso Matters, was a hit job. And why do they do that? Because they use these articles. They use them in the court cases, right? They use them in the any kind of board of inquiry, or to give to the CIA or to the FBI, to the federal inquiries, right? They use these fake reports, these fake stories, and they were absolutely setting Richard up with lies, absolute lies. And so we had to spend a lot of time and effort to inter- investigate. And they came up to be lies, right? They came up to be lies. He's sparkling clean. And of course, we presented all of our evidence to the Board of Inquiries and to the FBI. I mean, it takes 3,000 letters, right? And more communications on top of that to get some justice. And of course, um, we have his name absolutely honored in the National Archives now, with the highest praise from President Trump, making him worthy to be honored by all Americans, with a name that's indelible, uh, um, absolutely loyal and courageous and a patriot and, a hero, everything good. That's our son, right? That's our son, and we're very proud to be his parents, very proud to be his parents. And he paid the ultimate price. He paid the ultimate price to stand in the gap, right? Because he wasn't compromised, to be the whistleblower, to say, yes, these children are in danger. These children are in danger. Their criminal trafficking on Fort Bliss, weapons, ammunition, fuel, anything that's not bolted down was being trafficked. And of course, even bodies were being trafficked, especially during the lockdown. During the lockdown, there was special funding, special aid, humanitarian aid for unidentified migrants that had lost their lives. And this is why the evidence shows that Richard's remains were stolen after he was his life was taken brutally, that his remains were stolen, and they were cashed in on as VA death benefits, cashed in on as an unidentified migrant, and then, of course, taken over the border for also humanitarian aid for unidentified migrant. And that explains why there's these three autopsy numbers, the explanation of why there's um, um, the dismemberment, why there was so much effort, millions of dollars spent to cover this up, to cover this state sanctioned assassination, I would say torture and assassination of our son, and the disrespect, the stealing of his remains. That's why we want our son's remains, because we also have evidence that they have our son's remains. And they're keeping that evidence from us, right? Because that evidence is so damning to their state sanctioned assassination of our son, and all the crimes, right? The fraud, all the fraud. And they like doing this because they can run their businesses on the taxpayer dime, using our system, using our military, using our brick and mortar that taxpayers pay for, with all of the benefits that come with it, from the air condition to the fuel to everything. All the 501c3, right? Bob Moore is using the 501c3, and he absolutely violates it all the time. And they, really do control the media. That's coming out more and more. But today was just a magnificent day because it really corroborated everything that we've been saying, that there are very bad actors that targeted us, that targeted President Trump, that are paid actors, that are vile and vulgar, part of a sex cult. I would, absolutely part of a sex cult. I guess that's why they're able to be vile and vulgar, because they're just so depraved. Um, and they get very violent. They get very, very violent. And that is why you saw what happened with Charlie Kirk. These sex cult, and in our son's case and Charlie Kirk's case, it's a Mormon faction that is very violent. Um, and that's how these two cases absolutely connect. And if we see it, if we know it, of course the president knows it. He has kept up with this case by the two letters. It absolutely confirms that this is a prime priority, a top priority for the Trump administration to get to the bottom of this, because it is domestic, big T, a domestic threat, domestic organization, a very up to no good organization, that brings in the federal investigation, brings in the feds into the case. And that's what happened today. President Trump signed the executive order designating Antifa as a domestic, a major domestic, up to no good. I don't want to say the big T word, organization. And this brings in the feds. This brings in the feds, and also FinCEN to look at all the finances, look at all the money laundering, look at where, follow the money. And this is a really, really big deal, because Richard's case is priority for the border, because it was absolutely, if they would have if they would have let Richard live, um, things would have gone very different at the border, right? They would have had to respond to his reports. So, and that would have really helped President Trump. It really would have. So he is absolutely a hero. And this designation, with the designations of the cartels being a major up to no good, organizations, really, really criminal, super criminal. Um, with that, it is clear that these are both national security threats, and it is wrapping up really fast, because, um, you know, it'll just allows the whole law changes and to the feds, and and I feel so bad. Uh, it, that this couldn't happen sooner, because so many people would not have been hurt. There's a lot of people that are hurting really, really bad right now. So if you're a neighbor, if you see someone like that, please reach out to them. Please help them, especially if you're in El Paso, if you're in Juarez, because there's a lot of hurting people, because this has been going on for so long. It's done a lot of damage. It's done a lot of damage to families, and our heart breaks for all of them. Um, So this is a huge development, and I would say to the Fraternal Order of Police president, the likes of that, and the likes of him being in law enforcement with the others like Connell Witten. Connell Witten's a big one. Jesus Eddie Nieto, you know, George Torres. He's also FBI. Um, that things are different now, especially starting today. Things are very, very different, and you're looking at felony crimes for this cover up, right? For the lies and the cover up and everything, and you really have to reassess your. I believe there are very, very bad decisions that. That Michael Gonzales made very bad, because absolutely he lied to us and then tried to pull a maneuver on us with a playbook that we know that's so familiar. Let's tickle their ears a little bit. I don't have to do my duty if I just like uh, try to look like I'm a benevolent person. But, he's with Amber Chase. You can't be a benevolent person when you're with Amber Chase, okay? It just doesn't work. It doesn't work out. Or with Leilani Hart, she's a prime suspect in our son's murder. You cannot, when you're with this little cozy group that is, uh, delving into the dark arts, delving into, a satanic, uh, up to no good in the dark, okay? Up to no good with things that are with a fallen angel. That's a nice way to put it, Lucifer. Um, but, his head is squished already. His head is squished. Victory is ours. So, Michael Gonzales, he's just made, or just it's not a wise decision. It's not a wise decision. We have mountains and robust evidence. We've been doing this for over 5 years. Where do you think we got the screenshot from? That from 2021, we have we have other evidence. We have recordings. We have witnessed statements. We have letters. We have, lots and lots of online material, and more and more and more. Documents, all the FOIAs, all the every, so, he it's just not, you think that somebody that has that kind of experience, decades in law enforcement, and is the president of the Fraternal Order of Police, that they would understand what was going on, and that they would be forthright, and that they would do their duty. But clearly, obviously, something is messing with him, okay? Something is messing with him, or someone is messing with him, because he's like in a campaign mode instead of addressing these serious, serious crimes that are, right there. He knows all about them, and these serious suspects that are right there, that he joined a group. The group was conspired in order and put into action just to harass us, just to threaten us, just to dox us, just to do us harm. You can't have a president of the Fraternal Order of Police participating in that and then try to cover it up with, uh, you know, uh, a campaign slogan, or his CV or whatever, without doing his duty, without doing his duty. Okay, fine. You're so good. You're so great, whatever. But, why don't you denounce these people? Why don't you report them? Why don't you help with the cause of getting Richard's remains? And these absolutely, it's just the same old playbook with all of these people that are up to no good because something is terribly wrong. There's corruption or they're being compromised, and you see that like you can't operate in these high positions unless you have made a Faustian deal, right? A Faustian deal with the very worst of the worst type of criminals. And of course, that leads all the way up to the Mormon cartel faction ran by in the El Paso area, Woody Hunt, and that is pure with because of the Mormon faction connection with uh, going all the way to Utah, right? And to other places too. So, and across the border to Juarez, big time, because they have two big temples there. And of course, the one in Tijuana also. It's very obvious. So, and if they want it good, right, because they have billions and billions and tons of property and everything, and so much power within the media and so much power within the judicial system and the law enforcement system, they could make a paradise out of El Paso, beautiful ancient city of El Paso, but they don't. They have brought disaster, which is evidence in itself that they're up to no good. So that is really big news. The other big news is this whole autism thing. Of course, Patrick Crucius is autistic, was beating his head on the concrete when he was 3 years old, failed kindergarten, couldn't tie his shoes at 18, couldn't speak until he was around 6 years old, couldn't even speak. And they're telling us that he pulled off this big shooting. It's just not possible, right? It's just not possible. And now we know President Trump is such a hero because we can't continue with 1 in 12 boys having autism. We just can't continue like that. That's just national suicide. And so it's about time. It's about time that we had a president, and thank God it's President Trump that has now put out the warning for acetaminophen. I hope I'm saying that right. Acetaminophen. Um, that is very, very, very dangerous. When you're taking that when you're pregnant or you're giving that to your little baby, especially when you're mixing it, like if they received an injection and then they get a fever and you give them acetaminophen, which is the going recommended medication, their brains can't handle it. It penetrates the brain and it brings out um, uh, just a terrible terrible family situation because now you have a child that has autism and the severity can get very very bad, and it is just so horrible to live with. People do it because they love their children, but their children suffer, and to watch children suffer like that, where they're banging their head on the wall or biting themselves. I used to work. That's why I could pick it out so quick with Patrick Crucius. I said, "Oh my gosh, he's autistic," and Bob Moore is like, "No, no, no, he's not." And of course, he is. He is. That's already been confirmed now. Um, but yeah, yeah, but I could pick it out really quick because I worked with autistic students and Down syndrome students and absolutely know uh, the fear of it all, because they're just biting themselves, they're harming themselves in all kinds of ways, and it's just and I'm talking about not the Down syndrome, I'm talking about the autistic. It can be very severe. So yeah, this is very, very clear that President Trump is the hero. He is the hero by bringing us this information. It was a little shocking. I could say it was very shocking. I think there's a lot of tears tonight. I think there's a lot of tears all over the world, because in medicine, people recommended it, and but we have a gracious God, and um, those that did it on purpose, God help you, uh, uh, because God is no buttercup. And but for those that were just taught that way, let us realize that uh, yeah, we're grateful that we know the truth now. And I even was just astonished and so hopeful, because, of course, I have friends and family members that have this problem with children. Um, that there is maybe a partial cure that they can do now that they have released what the problem is. So that is really, really good news, really good news. And it just shows you that President Trump is absolutely willing to go against big funders like the pharmaceutical companies to do the right thing. Okay. And that means like going against like the likes of Woody Hunt or Jerry Twigs, right? That he will absolutely, or Soros, that he will absolutely um, just get justice for Richard, get Richard's remains. Um, you know, this is a high priority. Get justice for Charlie Kirk, right? Get justice for Charlie Kirk, and yeah, so things are absolutely happening, and when it comes to Charlie Kirk's case, they're doing a lot of trajectory. They're doing a lot of forensics on the shot. And I think there's going to be a lot of shocking facts that come out with that because of the degrees aimed downward, the canopy that he was under, um, uh, the possibility of that kind of shot making it, and everything else, the damage that was done to him, what kind of bullet, everything like that, all the forensics, that is all really going to be very interesting. And I don't think we're going to have to wait, 50 years for the information on this. There is, where there's a will, there's a way. And with President Trump, he's fight, fight, fight. He has a will. He has a will. And if you haven't watched um, yesterday, his speech at the memorial for Charlie Kirk, I highly recommend it. It was the most amazing speech. A lot of good information in there. A lot of good information that was authentic. So I really highly recommend that speech. Um, it's really important to listen to it for yourself um, instead of trying to get your information from the media, because the media, they're not honest. They're absolutely not honest. So yeah, those are the things that I really wanted to talk about. That the case of Charlie Kirk is intertwined with Richard's, and when they solve this case, it will absolutely um, help Richard's case. extremely, for the accountability part of it. So that is maybe the whole thing, maybe the whole thing. So that is really good news. We have a lot of other information that's coming in. We're going through it and confirming or, really vetting the information, and we will let you know what's going on. But it's a huge, huge day today for Antifa to be designated now. And that is just very, very helpful for our son's case. Thank you so much, everyone. God bless.